Indie Mogul.
This episode of Indie Mogul is brought to you by Friday the 13th, in theaters February 13th.
Are you excited for the new Friday the 13th?
I'm gonna definitely see that.
That's a definite must-see.
For a slasher flick, I mean, you don't get much better than Friday the 13th.
This one, it's gonna be really scary. I just can't wait.
I'm not a horror person, but it looks good.
Where does Friday the 13th stand in the world of horror movies?
It's like one of the best. I mean, they came out with like about 10, 11.
It's probably one of the best slasher flicks, other than Freddy Krueger.
Between Friday the 13th and Freddy, those are like Biggie and Tupac in hip-hop world.
Where's your sense of adventure?
Right here.
This February, prepare
What was it?
for the day everyone fears. Friday the 13th, rated R, starts Friday, February 13th.
It's a bomb.
You're watching Indie Mogul.
Yes, there's only one Jason Voorhees, a horror movie icon who's reinvented himself more times than Madonna. As we get ready for his brand new movie hitting theaters Friday, February 13th, let's take a look at the man behind the mask.
These are Jason's woods, and nobody leaves them alive.
Ah, summer camp. The bugs, the bullies, the broken hearts, and the brutal murders. At least that was the case with Camp Crystal Lake. Back in 1957, young Jason drowned in the lake while his supervising counselors were, otherwise occupied. Naturally, the camp went out of business, only to be reopened in 1980. But before it could officially open, all the new employees were murdered by none other than Jason's middle-aged mother, avenging her son's death on his birthday.
Did you know a young boy drowned here? He was my son. And today is his birthday.
While one of the counselors was able to kill Jason's mother, at the end of the movie, Jason's rotting, now adult corpse emerged from Crystal Lake, and the horror genre would never be the same.
Friday the 13th.
Majorly ticked off that horny teenagers were responsible for his death, Jason began killing every single one he came across. And lucky for him, Crystal Lake was a teenager magnet. But after one teenager stabbed Jason with his very own machete, Jason decided that maybe killing teenagers wasn't a good hobby after all, and he moved to nearby Higgins Haven. Unfortunately, Higgins Haven was also filled with horny teenagers. And it's here that Jason, formerly sporting a burlap sack on his head, donned his famous hockey mask. A star was born, then killed. Or was he? He wasn't! It was at this point we learned Jason is invulnerable. He resurrected himself by sheer will, and when that didn't cut it, a bolt of electricity did. Yes, fate was cruelly on Jason's side as a lightning bolt not only brought him back to life, but gave him super strength. It was only by chaining a rock to his neck and throwing him back in Crystal Lake that he was stopped. But then, Jason found himself accidentally freed from his watery grave by Crystal Lake resident and telekinetic Tina, who had trouble controlling her powers. Had Jason finally found a worthy opponent? It seemed to be a draw until Tina's abusive stepfather, who she'd telekinetically drowned in Crystal Lake years ago, ended up dragging Jason back down into the lake. Back in the lake again. No wonder Jason was so upset. He needed a vacation and hitched a ride on a boat taking, you guessed it, a bunch of teenagers on a school trip to New York City. And because once you make it in the Big Apple, you can make it anywhere, Jason was retired via a toxic waste bath, reverting back to the age he was when he first drowned in Crystal Lake all those years ago. Had Jason finally found peace? Nope, sorry, no peace for the damned. And damned Jason was. The FBI decided to get involved and blew Jason to bits, hoping that with no body he couldn't come back. But Jason showed them his spirit possessing different bodies as he looked for a blood relative to fully bring him back from the dead once more. And horror movies being what they are, all his blood relatives were hot babes. The next few years were a whirlwind for Jason as he escaped from hell only to be once more caught by the US government, who, exasperated, decided to cryogenically freeze him. But, being a lucky guy, Jason found himself unfrozen in the year 2455 on another planet, where there were, of course, some teenagers. He killed them. But there was also a robot teenager, who he also killed. And then he became part cyborg, only killed when he was shot into space and then burned up upon re-entry. End of story? I don't think so. Jason, back in hell, was used as a pawn by Freddy Krueger to drum up fear on Elm Street and strengthen Freddy's fear-based powers. But Jason is no patsy and turns on Freddy, resulting in a gruesome deadlock ending in a draw and more dead teenagers. Noticing a theme here? Jason hates teenagers, and he's about to get back to basics with the latest Friday the 13th. Nobody slices and dices like Jason, and after making his bloody debut almost 30 years ago, he's back for the ultimate resurrection of his franchise. Producer Michael Bay and director Marcus Nispel, who terrified us with their brilliant reimagining of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, bring the legend of Jason Voorhees to a whole new generation of teenagers. What will you say when Jason comes for you?
Please don't kill me.
Don't come to Brooklyn or Staten Island and don't follow me.
I would run.
Keep on killing.
Subscribe, comment, rate it.